everybody, Shell Brodnax here with another episode of Stager Talk, and I am so thrilled today to have three of my colleagues and girlfriends. I can say all of them are friends of mine, and I do appreciate everybody being here, and I'm going to introduce y'all one by one. We've got the very unique Shauna Lynn Simon. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Shell. How are you?
Very good. I'm very excited to talk about all things RESACON and staging, of course. And then we also have the very beautiful Diane Hamill up from Canada as well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Great, thanks for being here. And Bobbie McGrath, you know Bobbie McGrath? She's the Southern stager with all the charm out in North Carolina.
There you go. Looking forward to expanding that territory with certain friends of mine.
I'm telling you, North Carolina's the place to be.
I think so.
So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple different sessions that we're offering at RESACON this year. I'd like to have all the speakers as a guest on Stager Talks because we can give you a little bit of insight about what we talk about, what they're going to teach everybody about at RESACON. And one of the best subjects, a very good subject that I have just been dying to kind of dig into is the millennials and having to work with millennials. And when I say having to, I don't mean that that's a chore. Let me rephrase that, because we have 3 millennials at RESA HQ and actually adore them. I know. It's so funny. I talk to so many people that are like, ooh, the millennials, it's a chore. And I'm like, man,
I have 2 on staff. Any
day of the week, because I love them. I think they're full of very fresh ideas, and there's been problems. Like at the award ceremony for years, we could never figure out how to control traffic control by pulling everybody up on stage to get the photos. And I tried everything. Let's move the winners up to the front. Let's tell people only sit in the front. Let's pull them up in an order and wait 30 seconds between each person so they come. Nothing worked. I literally turned it over to Felicia, our chief buzz creator. She's a millennial. And in like 14 seconds, she looked up at everything and she went, well, why don't you just do it like the Oscars and just one person up on the stage? Right? Out of the mouth stage, she solved all the problems I hadn't solved in 8 years. So we're so close to something, we usually go to one of the millennials and say, what do you think about this? And they'll tell you, and it's amazing how they can solve problems. So Diane, take it away. Let's talk about millennials. You're going to be tackling at RESACON.
Yeah, I was working at a local university, and I was the parent relations officer there for 8 years. And during that time, I was the person who was the contact between the parents and the students and the parents and the university. And I was finding that there was a lot of talk between the staff, who are mostly Gen Xers, not understanding this new generation. And I'm a baby boomer. Kind of obviously. And there was this big gap. Nobody was really understanding and communicating with each other very well. So my supervisor asked me to do some research and do some reading and do some webinars. And so I did all of that. And as a result of that, I was able to put together some research that had never been done before, actually, on the parent-student interactions. And that was sort of the beginning of my interest in this subject. And strangely enough, it was not the parents who were constantly contacting the students. It was the students who were primarily contacting their parents, which everybody was totally floored at. So as a result of that previous employment that I had, I became interested in the millennial generation, and I have 2 millennials in my family and 2 late Gen Xers in my family as well. So I was living it every day too. Now that they're coming into the marketplace, it's taken a lot longer for millennials to come into the marketplace, the real estate marketplace, than it has for previous generations. Costs of education and student loans, and they are tending to linger in the parental home a lot longer than they were before. So I just noticed in the last 3 or 4 years that they were starting to be a real force in the real estate marketplace as well. And I thought, oh, I can use my previous expertise to help my clients to sell well.
Absolutely. Now, do you find that with the millennials that they like the fixer-uppers or they don't like the fixer-uppers?
They do not.
They don't know how to get to Home Depot.
They don't know how to they don't know how to pick up a hammer. And also it's not just some of them are very handy, and it's not like a slag on them in that way anyway at all. But a lot of them, it's not affordable. They can get the biggest bang for their buck by getting a high-priced mortgage rather than a lower-priced fixer-upper home, because that the home improvement loan that they have to tag on to their mortgage is what kills them. They just can't afford it. They're probably looking at a 25% reduction in the actual price tag of a home by putting together a mortgage and a home improvement loan as opposed to straight mortgage. So who in their right mind wants to end up with less house and have the same payments when you can, and all that work, when you can actually buy a home that's already done for the same dollar per month?
Yeah, exactly. And I know for myself, I was sharing earlier that I've been a buyer for about 2 years and researching markets from that actual perspective. And many years ago, my actual first purchase was a little bit of a fixer-upper. I was fortunate enough to have done very well in my career, so I had some money put away, and I actually remodeled it before I even moved into it. New floors, countertops, bathrooms, the whole bit. I did it all. But hey, I was young, I was making good money. I was totally into it. I was excited. Fast forward 20 years later, not so much. I'm not even knowing anybody, even our friends that really want the fixer-uppers. The fixer-uppers are now just to go to the investors. So really, at this point, for me, if I'm buying something and it's the high end of my budget, it needs to have every single thing that I need on it. If it's at the low end of the budget, sure, then you might have some additional discretionary funds to be able to fix things up. But I know for me especially, it's like, do I want to? I'm really looking for that and ready experience. People that I think would agree with that. Shauna Lynn, we're going to talk about a really great topic about raising your prices. This is a conundrum that so many people get into. I can say as an entrepreneur, I've done it. I'm sure everybody on this panel has done it. You set your prices too low from the beginning for whatever reason, lack of confidence, don't think you can sell it. You just want to get the business. You can always raise it later once people know who you are. No, your camp doesn't work that way. It's a train wreck. Don't do it. So, Shauna, let's give some insight about the raising the prices and what you're going to share with everybody.
Well, I've raised the prices myself several times over the years, and it's something that I will admit the first couple of times I did it, there was a huge anxiety with it, and I agonized over how to do it, how much to do it by, how to announce it to people. There's so many different factors that I was agonizing over, and I will tell you this, though. Every time I have raised my prices, all the anxiety is before raising my prices. Afterwards, the last time I raised my prices, I literally got emails from my clients telling me, like, oh, that seems about right. Yeah, that's perfect. Can you tell me more about this service? Can you tell me more about that service? They weren't complaining about the price, and they just want to know more about the amazing services that we offer. So I think that we make it up in our head. One of the biggest tips that I can give is we all have, or at least have had, that one client, and in our business, it's usually a real estate agent. This is no disrespect to real estate agents, but it's usually just one real estate agent that you hear that voice in your head every time you want to change something. You hear them chirping about something that they're not going to like about that change. But the reality is it's one voice. And most of the time, and you might say, well, that one voice gives me a lot of business. But imagine what you could do without that one voice in your head. Right. So what I'm going to be talking about is not just how to raise your prices, how to figure out how much to do it, but I'm also going to be talking about the words to use when you raise your prices and how to make it so that your clients aren't just saying, you're not just going to be getting the complaints from them. In fact, you won't be getting the complaints. Instead, you're going to be getting the reactions that I get, where good for you. This is a great addition. I'm super excited about everything that you've got to offer. And what it does is, and I cannot stress this part enough, if I get couple of quotes. I need a new roof right now for my garage. Fun times, but talking about remodeling, you don't want to do. So I'm in the process of getting some quotes. I'm not hiring the person who's giving me the lowest quote, plain and simple. I don't believe that they're going to do the same job as the guy who's giving me the highest quote. I may not choose the highest person, but I have to believe if there is a difference in price that I will get more value out of that higher price. And I think that's the thing that we need to understand, that you need to sell that value.
I totally agree with you, Shauna Lynn. Preach it, sister. Preach it. Yeah, I was going to say, let's get that soapbox out.
And hopefully you'll talk a little bit about, when people are coming down on their price as well. I know that's a big thing. And I've shared a story recently with a lot of people about my personal experience. Again, I've been a buyer for about 2 years, watching the market, working on my house, because I don't want to, if anybody's looking at selling your home and you want to move and you know it's going to be in 2 years, that means you have got work to start doing now. It really does take some time to be able to get some things done. And again, if you want to price it at the top of the market, it needs to have everything done to it. But I had a service provider come in and give a bid for flooring. We have a pretty small kitchen and 2 very small bathrooms, and they bid at $8,500. Well, I've been around enough to know that that was a ridiculous amount of money. Now, granted, I can't do it, and but I still knew that it just wasn't. I wasn't seeing the value in that for what it was. It wasn't going to bring up the value of the house that much in order to pay that. And I ended up negotiating with them, and I only paid $2,400 from an $8,500 bid. So when people walk away, most people say, "Oh my God, Shell, you're a mad negotiator. How did you do that?" Well, I just kept going, and I kept going until I hit the wall. When I hit the wall, and then I realized the ginormous gap that they had, that was all the wiggle room that they ended up cutting out of their own profit. And that was so inflated. I know now for a fact you can go in and you can get this, because they're not going to do it for more than that $2,400, because then they're not making any money. Right. And in reality, the people that they hire, because they contract out, and it's a major company, they contract out to get somebody else to come into your home to actually do the work. And then that particular work, some of it wasn't the best. They took a couple shortcuts. But when they were here, I insisted that they fix everything. So that's a little story about even reducing your price.
Well, and we're definitely going to be talking about providing the quality and the difference between, discounting and being able to meet a budget. Because just because you're trying to meet a budget doesn't mean that you actually have to discount your prices. Exactly. And that's going to be a big part of what we're going to be talking about. I think I always use, Vistaprint's a great example. I would never pay full price for anything I order from Vistaprint, because I know there is a promo code out there that will give me a discount. I guarantee it. And so the problem is when you're always, to your point, Shell, you were able to keep pushing them. So if you ever went back to them for flooring, you would never pay their higher prices. You would have the expectation that they can always go lower. No matter what price they give you, you expect they can go lower. The second you negotiate your price, I had one of my furry friends in Hawaii, so I get it.
It's funny when you have a schnoodle. Schnoodles are very smart.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. My door and just jumped right in. So we'll keep her low.
Okay.
Yep, she's good. She's good. But the problem is that once you've negotiated once, you've made the mistake, and it's going to be that much harder to stand your ground the next time. Yeah. But I will be talking about exactly how to do that. Yes. That's
good. That's good. Well, one of the things that drives me crazy too is people do the PIA pricing. Oh, no, it's not even that pricing, but they'll say, well, I know they're going to negotiate with me. So let's say they go in at 7,000 when they know the job can be done at 4,000. Well, if you happen to get clients who just say, okay, and they sign the 7,000, is it fair to those people? You know what I mean? And then so you then get the people who beat on you and beat on you and beat on you. You don't even go at the 4,000. You stage the same staging for $3,000. It's like, people talk. They talk to each other. So this is a great topic. This is a great topic, Shauna Lynn.
For sure.
I was speaking with a contractor once that wanted to work with myself and my clients, and he said to me, he said, one thing that I do is, I kind of gauge my pricing based on, their budget. So if they don't have, if it's a lower priced home and they don't have a lot to spend, then, I'll do what I can to work with them. And I told him afterwards, I said, I would never hire you for exactly that reason. And he was super confused because he was looking at it from the standpoint that he's helping these people out with a lower budget. And I said, I work with a lot of high-end clients, and they don't negotiate the price the same way. So you're telling me that if you walk into their $1 million+ house, you're going to give them one price. More? And if I bring you into a house for a couple $100,000, you're going to charge a different price. I can't work with someone like that. You need to be consistent. I need to know that every one of my clients is getting fair pricing. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to fair pricing, not just for your clients, but for you. You need to make money. I can't stress this enough. Hello.
Are you out there? It's like,
So yeah, the socialist approach doesn't work when it comes to pricing because you know, for every time you discount that for somebody who couldn't quite afford it, and we appreciate that, you want to help those people, but now all the rest of your clients had to pay for it because you have to make it up someplace else.
That's right. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So, and there are ways. We're all altruistic. We all love what we do. So there are ways to incorporate that into your business without sacrificing your integrity.
That's right.
Yeah, I love
That's right.
that.
I can preach all day about this.
I know, it's good. And I'd be clapping in the front row.
Very good.
Yes, please.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Bobbie, you're going to talk about, you know, creating and maintaining fantastic relationships with real estate agents. So let's talk a little bit about that for a moment.
Absolutely. It's time and time again on the different social media of threads and everything, the questions that come up, it has to do so many times about building realtor relationships. And there's kind of a misunderstanding too amongst realtors, thinking that that staging is only the vacant side of the business. So they don't even take the time to reach out to stagers because they're thinking, I'm not going to do that for whatever reason, because they don't understand the whole process. So what I want to do is I want to talk to everyone about how the consultations can help you develop relationship with the realtors. And consultations, there's a lot of consultations. You've got occupied, you've got vacant consultations, you have builder selections, you have stage to lives, you have all kinds of different kinds of consultations that you can provide that is really kind of like the entry level of building a relationship. And I'm not saying, going back to what Shauna Lynn was saying, it's not about charging nothing in order to have that relationship. It's about understanding how to present the consultation to the realtor to help them build their own business and to prevent staging as a positive and empowering savvy marketing tool to their clients. It's all about that relationship, how you approach them, how you take care of those realtors, how you set expectations. It's all about that. So we can start looking at the consultation unit as a building block to building wider and wider services for our realtors in our different markets.
Yeah, you know, a lot of real estate agents actually spoke at a women's real estate conference last week, and you were talking about you know, the vacant and the occupied. And a lot of agents think on an occupied, no, I'm not going to bother my people with that because who wants to move all their furniture out to have you move all new stuff in?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I mean, I've been here 15 years in my market, and I still occasionally run into a realtor who says that very same to me, or worse yet, an entire office. And their whole culture is that, oh, we do the staging for our clients. And I said, oh, so, you know, explain to me what you do. And they're doing the mother-in-law tidy, and they're saying,
Warming it up.
And it's like, and they pick the color, whatever the color is, and they tell them to put it on the walls. And so they're telling them things not based on truly understanding why you select the colors you do, but because that's what they say you're supposed to do. So they take them through this list. I call it the Google consultation. And what they do is they go through with these, very generic things, which is open to interpretation and which is open up to massive misinterpretation. So I think that's a great point, Shell, because it's different. It's just a different thing. So I'm excited to be sharing this because I know we are all constantly up against that wall with realtors saying, I don't need staging. No. Oh, no. And it's a bridge to understanding. And I think that will help many of our fellow stagers break that wall, get their foot in there, and then show themselves to be an expert and show the value of what true staging is. True staging is. So anyway, but okay. I love her, but I got to tell you, I don't know. We do this weekly talk show, Don Drew and I do, and as the sunny side of staging. And the other night we were talking about what she called soft touch staging. And I called her to task and said, which is accessories only. And I said to her, I said, what gets to me is don't call that staging, because that is not staging.
Mm-hmm.
That is not staging. That is accessorizing. And I said, you know what? I said, I don't have a problem with it as long as, number one, you do a good job. But number two, that you don't call it staging, call it accessorizing. Let's come up with a different terminology, because what's happened is the very term staging has been misappropriated for so many things. We need to own that. So I really think, but when we get in and speak to these realtors, to the realtors groups, and even home sellers, and let them understand the difference and how base level, every single house out there can benefit from a consultation. I don't care if it's a vacant house, it's an occupied house, or something in between. So that's my goal. And as you can tell, there's my soapbox.
I call it restyle to sell, by the way. We restyle to sell. When we're working with a when we're doing kind of, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Now I can.
So when I'm working with like just the client's items, we call it restyle to sell.
Okay. Well, no, I'm talking different. Because I call that staging enhancement. When I bring items in, I work with the client stuff and then bring in accessories. That's one thing. But when all that's in there are the pillows, the plant, and the picture.
Oh, you're talking vignette staging is kind of what I call it. Okay.
I don't like that term.
That term staging.
I don't want to put that associated to it, because it's not. It's accessorizing.
Well, and to me, what staging is marketing. And there is nothing about that markets it. The idea of staging is to be able to accentuate the features, to be able to showcase the space, show the optimal flow, all that. And nothing about what you're talking about does that. I know what you're saying.
I think it warms up the space in reality. When as a buyer for the last 2 years, every time I see that wingback chair with a sorry Michael's ficus tree in the corner with the throw and it looks unfinished. It looks unprofessional. It looks like a hobbyist stager did it. And what's even worse, and I know so many stagers do this because they want to get that job and they don't want to pass it up. Here's the thing, your reputation is on the line, because every buyer that walks through that door and every real estate agent that walks through the door, they have no idea whatsoever that somebody couldn't afford a full staging, or that's specifically what they asked for. And then who gets the blame? You do. So you look like a hobbyist or somebody who's not doing it very well at all.
I got to tell you, it was really interesting because the conversation became rather heated. People were like, they do it. Oh yeah. It was very interesting, because I said, I'm going to say not a fan. It's just not something that I would do. And then I said, I understand why you're doing it. I just ask that you don't call it staging, because it's not. It's accessorizing. And then furthermore, I'm thinking, but see, here was a good point too. What she's doing is she's using it for model homes or for builders who are quickly turning and burning. And so those rooms don't get photographed. And so they're not for photos, because I said to her, she shared photos, but the thing was, those rooms aren't photographed for that. So it's a different business model specifically for that, because those homes are not, the photos are not taken care of. They're not put out there. So anyway, it was an interesting conversation. And I was thinking, there's so many different levels of service and things that people are doing out there. And I really think it's important if we as an industry kind of come up with the terminology. I mean, we all call the different services slightly different, but just to understand, all I said in the end was, if you could just not call it staging, just say, I'm doing feature accessorizing for you, like, filling up the bookshelves or something. But I don't know. It was interesting. It got very interesting.
I think
currently millennial buyers they view that they are not only the largest demographic of new buyers in most marketplaces, they're the largest demographic of buyers, period. And they view that kind of vignette staging as creepy. So do I want to have my largest demographic of buyers view what I have done as creepy? It's better to have it empty.
Very good point.
There you go.
And this also, Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say this goes back to the whole pricing aspect of things, though,
Mhm.
you know, where they're saying,
Right.
well, you know, I'd rather have some money than have no money. Would you really, though? Because your name is attached to that. So, I mean, we had a real estate agent contact us a couple of weeks ago. He had a property, a massive property, owner occupied, but needed some staging. And he said, my clients have a $2,000 budget. And we said, okay, thanks very much. We can't help you.
There you go.
And he
Yeah.
was shocked by it. He's like, but I'm willing to pay $2,000. Just give me whatever you can give me for $2,000. He's already had 2 home stagers come in there for lower budgets and wasn't able to get what he wanted. We said, we will dictate what it will cost for this. And we're happy to come in and do a consultation to give you the pricing. He raised his budget to $3,000. I said, now we might be able to talk, but I still can't promise you that we can achieve everything you're looking for that. But we can come up with at least a plan of here's what $3,000 will get you. And then here's what it'll cost you to get the wow effect that you're looking for. And we priced it out accordingly. And we're happy to walk away if he doesn't want to proceed with it. And that's the biggest thing that we have so many clients that come back to us for our integrity. When we say to them, I don't feel comfortable giving you this lower staging because it's not going to reflect what you're trying to reflect with it. So I don't want to take the thousands throw at me if it's not enough money to do what we need to do. Yeah. And they have so much more respect for us and they come back to us because of that.
I gotcha. Yeah. Like I said, it was a very interesting conversation because a lot of people came forward saying, I do this. And I was thinking, I think it's a good discussion to potentially have to just discuss that. And when I go to speak to realtors groups or when I meet one-on-one with realtors, they will bring that up and ask me if I do that. And so I explained to them, in my experience, it has not been effective. If you're willing to spend X amount of money for this, instead use that money. If you're not going to do the full staging, if you can't bring in the vacant, because I do refer to vacant stagers, but if you can't, if that's not in your budget to do so, then I want you to spend that money that you're willing to have me bring accessories in on and use it to detail the fixed assets of the house.
Exactly.
You know, it's change the shape of the money and get it so you still get your big bang per buck. And that's when I turn it into a vacant consultation, because now that I know what their budget is, I'm able to go in there and talk to them about, you know, based on your budget, these are the key areas where I would recommend that you spend your money. And so it's all about that consultation, because if you can get yourself set up to be seen as the expert who's practical, because there's also this thing.
Practical and honest too.
Yeah, because I've got some folks, you know, I'll come up behind. Sometimes I'm not the second, I'll be the third stager on a project. And when I come in there, what I've discovered is actually, first of all, they were interior designed the first time. So they spent all this money on curtains and zebra carpets. No lie. This is a true story. And, they spent all this, you know, $35,000 on new curtains, you know, and then the second person comes in and they have them strip everything away and pack everything away so the house looks abandoned. And now I come in and they're like, yeah, what are you going to tell me to do? You know, and it's like understanding the reasons behind what you recommend and having that solid foundation is so important. And I just find that sometimes instead of going in and making the house more marketable, which I hope the millennials would rather see something marketable rather than something pretty. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's a whole thing. I get quite passionate. I hope I have enough time to talk, Shell, because I'll just go off. This is like my thing. Lately, I've been like asking my realtors questions, and I corner them, and it's like they see me at get-togethers now and they go the other way, and I'm like, oh, I go faster than you, and I'll just sit there and I just pick at their brain, and they finally give in an answer, you know. So I'm looking forward to sharing. I think I hope it'll be a good session.
I think it's going to be amazing. Your occupied, your viewpoint on how to do the occupieds and the whole process and the relationship building. I interviewed Ed Hatch earlier today, Ed Hatch Seminars, and he's actually a professional teacher, instructor, speaker. He teaches communication and sales techniques. He spoke at NAR for 26 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
So we have got him at RESACON, and he says a lot of things that I know, Bobbie, that you're going to really vibe with, and it's about the trust factor. So he's, you know, we were talking earlier today about, you know, when you're the expert and you walk in and you give somebody the expert advice and then they don't want it. I don't want to do this. It's, you know, you're going to make me do these things because you haven't established your trust first. And I know that's a big part of what Bobbie believes in is establishing your trust first, because then they understand your professionalism after the fact.
I call it street cred. I say, I got to earn my street cred. So until that happens, you're not going to listen to me. And it's the same even with my kids. I had to earn my street cred with them. So I do it with each house seller.
But you have to live that as well, though. It's not just about, it's not just about saying the right things. It's not just about you know, saying the right words or anything. It's about, like you said, you have to actually earn it. So I know that in our experience with our clients, if we're telling them they need to rent some items, if we're saying you need to bring some items in, they believe they need to do it because their real estate agents have already told them that we will not recommend something that will not have an impact. I'm not just bringing in pillows to bring in pillows. I'm not just trying to pad my own bill, but I've got that trust already established.
Strong relationship with the realtors. And it's the strong relationship with the realtors, the ones who I've taken the time to meet with and talk with, and then we collaborate. I mean, I just met with one realtor. You guys may be hearing about him soon, but I just met with one of my realtors and we collaborated over his listing presentation. And I even meet to interview his new hires.
That's awesome.
You know, so, and it's like, and I have other realtors that I have really close relationship with. And it's when you have that, they put out the carpet for you when you get to, you know, when you get to that appointment. So, in fact, I feel a little spoiled because when I show up, I really have to tell them everything, how I work and everything. I'm like thinking, dang, Miss Realtor, you have been slacking off. So, but it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy it. I do. I enjoy the relationship part.
Yeah. Well, it has been such a pleasure to speak to all three of you today. We're wrapping up at the end of our time here together. Any last thoughts for anybody if they're thinking about getting to RESACON and they're on the fence and they're undecided?
Oh, do it. Best thing I've ever done for my career, for me, for personal development. You'll find a million new friends. It's totally worth every penny you spend to come to RESACON. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I can honestly say, don't look at it as the expense. Look at it as an investment, 100%.
Totally.
There is nothing that would keep me from going to RESACON because no matter how much I spend to go there, I will always make that money back tenfold. Always.
And I will say that going to RESACON opened my eyes to the possibilities because when it's, you know, my company is me, myself, and I. And so this is it. And even though you try to see, you know, there's so much out there that I didn't know existed. And so as part of jumping in and going to RESACON all by myself the first time to check you people out to make sure that you were legit and it wasn't like some weird thing. I mean, I spent my whole time there going from table to table, different table, every time we got together, asking questions. And across the board, these people were supportive, they were encouraging, and they were real. That was what was really fascinating to me is that when you're sitting around those tables, like lunch or between sessions, and you're just like talking, people are real with each other. And I came back with some incredible ideas that really have changed my life.
One of the things that really impressed me too is just the generosity of all the people that are there. The people who have the most successful businesses are the ones who are most willing to sit down and spend half an hour with you of their valuable time and share their heart and their business practices and where they were and how they got to where they are now. So the generosity of character is what really impressed me too.
Yes, absolutely. We have a great bunch. And not only do you learn from the speakers themselves in the sessions, we typically run 3 sessions at a time, and I like to organize them geared towards your level in business. So you typically will see a newbie, a mid-level, or a seasoned or advanced level, or a niche level from the different sessions that you can choose from. And not only do you learn from the sessions that you're in, but the peer-to-peer support. You will sit with somebody at dinner. You will sit with somebody on a break or at lunch or at breakfast because there's lots of good food. We feed you for everything. And you will undoubtedly meet somebody at your table that you'll mention a problem you're having. I guarantee you somebody at that table had the problem. They got a solution and they're going to share it with you. So amount of, we lost Shauna Lynn. The amount of support that's there for everybody is just really incredible. And I appreciate everybody. Shauna Lynn might be able to jump back on. If not, we certainly thank her for being here. If you are on the fence about attending RESACON, please check us out, resaconvention.com. You will not regret it. It's one of the best investments that you can make into your future. I know a lot of times when people are at conventions, the speakers will stand up and say, congratulations to everybody here who decided to invest in yourself and your own business. And I have the same viewpoint as well. There's so much education there for everybody. So that about wraps it up for our episode of Stager Talk. Again, resaconvention.com. Check us out. Until next time, happy staging. Bye.
See you there.